I totally love that show. Isn't Brady Armstrong so dreamy? Total hottie.
You had a guinea pig?
Yes, but it died.
When?
I don't know. I'd really rather not think about it, all right?
Looks like you're learning some interesting stuff.
Bet you wouldn't say that if you were the one who had to learn it. That was written by Charles Penvillin way back in like the 1500s. When I read it, it seemed really familiar, you know?
As the moon rises upon thee, fear not, but draw upon the strength of absent friends and toast to their memories and happiness and wonder. With the stalwart heart of a knight, let charity be thy guiding angel. Stay firm in knowledge as a dedicated geometer, and fear not the ravages of Father Time. For, dear child, as you learn the lessons of folly, the secrets of this world shall dawn in thy soul. Who's this?
That's my mum, my real mum. She's an opera singer. It's not like she's famous or anything, but she does live in Paris.
What is this book?
Don't know really. Ethel gave it to me. She said it belonged to my grandfather. Do you think Brady Armstrong is cute?
Each of those cups seems to be associated with a Roman numeral.
I used that to make cakes for Lulu the parrot. That's why the ingredients are so nasty. Like I would eat mealworms.
Do you mind if I make something?
Go right ahead. Nigel gave that to me when I was in the library once. I think he was hoping it would scare me, but it didn't. I'm too smart to believe in that sort of stuff.
This phone number just might come in handy.
That's my family tree. Ask me anything about anyone. Go on, ask me. Hi, Nancy.
I should get going.
Au revoir.
Oh, you startled me. You must be Nancy. I'm Jane's tutor, Ethel.
How do you do?
Jane is very excited you're visiting. You're all she's talked about for the past week.
Wow, I feel so embarrassed. I didn't think I'd have a fan club all the way over here.
Yes, well, I'm sorry, but I'm in a bit of a rush. I need to go over some things with Jane.
Oh, I guess I'll be going then.
It was a pleasure meeting you, Nancy. Our paths will cross again, I'm sure. I'm afraid we're busy.
There goes my cell phone. Hello?
Hi, Nancy. It's Mrs. Petroff. How is everything? Have you seen Linda yet?
Literally speaking, no, but I did talk to her. Not that she told me anything.
I'm just about at my wit's end. I've never known her to act like this. The last doctor that examined her said that aside from a little dry skin, which is not unusual for her, she was perfectly fine.
Why is she hiding behind that curtain?
I have no idea. When I was out there last week, I got fed up and pulled the curtain back. She threw a fit, but otherwise she looked absolutely normal. A little pale, perhaps, but who wouldn't be pale, cooped up like that? Something has changed her. Something in that house. Hugh is just as bewildered and upset by her behavior as I am. Please get to the bottom of this, Nancy. You're our last hope.
Where is Hugh?
He was called to Rome. As a diplomat, he's always being called out of the country without warning and without any say in the matter. He'd much rather be there with Linda, although...
Although what?
It's just that Hugh said it hasn't been very easy for him to talk to her lately. Whenever he calls, which is at least once a day, Linda always seems to fly off the handle for no reason, which doesn't make sense. Linda has always been extremely level-headed and even-tempered. She never gets angry. At least she didn't used to.
Who exactly is Mrs. Drake?
She's Hugh's aunt. She's taken care of Blackmoor Manor ever since her brother died. He was Hugh's father. She's a bit of a character.
I noticed.
The way she spends all her time in that conservatory, slouching around, trowel in hand, murmuring to herself. You'd think she was burying something. Or somebody.
Goodbye, Mrs. Petroff.
Goodbye, Nancy. Oh, one more thing. My niece is on call and her husband's out of town, and I told her I'd go over there and babysit if she had to work. So if you call and I don't answer, that's why. Bye.
Ah yes, are you here from the agency? It's about time.
No, I'm Nancy Drew, a friend of Linda's.
How do you do? I'm Nigel Mukherjee. I'm researching the Penvillen family, and Mrs. Drake has graciously opened the library for me. Nothing much has been written about the Penvillens. Until now.
Sounds intriguing.
It might have something to do with their scandalous history. Or perhaps it has something to do with the family treasure.
Scandalous history?
Well, having a family member burned as a witch can hardly be considered a mark of pride, I dare say. And then there's the whole business with the Blackmoor beast.
Who was the family member?
Eleanor Penvillen, tried and convicted of witchcraft in 1650, quite the height of the witch trials here in Essex. It was rumoured that Cromwell arranged the conviction.
Cromwell?
Oliver Cromwell? Ironsides? I suppose they don't teach history any longer in the US. Lady Penvillen was a rather vocal critic of Cromwell's policies and helped many of his enemies flee the country. Whether she actually was a practitioner of witchcraft is unknown, although many visitors to the manor during her tenure reported hearing strange, ghostly bells. Some even saw phantom hands floating about the manor, tolling their charmed chimes.
Tell me about the Penvillen family treasure.
For centuries, the Penvillens have been very secretive. Some believe they're protectors of a fabulous treasure, or of some dark secret.
Can you tell me about the Blackmoor beast?
It's a story that's been told for generations out here. During the 1600s, many of the villagers reported seeing a strange beast with red eyes and giant fangs prowling the moors. They asked the mistress of Blackmoor Manor, Eleanor Penvillen, to put a bounty on the beast's head. But, oddly enough, she not only refused, she forbade anyone from hunting the creature. It was rumored that the beast was Eleanor's husband, whom she had cursed for finding out too much about the Penvillen secret.
When I was walking up to the house, I saw something with red eyes that called out to me.
Really? How extraordinary. Are you sure it wasn't just jet lag?
Positive, and I heard it make this kind of growling sound.
Perhaps it was the cursed husband of Eleanor Penvillen, prowling about the moors in search of lost Yanks.
Very funny. Have you seen any runes anywhere in the manor?
You mean like Norse runes? No, I haven't. I don't really know much about them anyway. Dead languages aren't really my bag, you know.
I'll let you get back to your work.
Goodbye. I doubt you'll find much of interest in there. They're mainly law books. Charles Penvillen was a prominent judge in the 16th century. Sad to say, he lost his son at a young age, left his estate to his grandson, Thomas. Those manuscripts are very old and brittle. They date back to the 14th century. Odo Penvellyn collected most of them. His father, Randolph, and son Milo were rather more interested in military victories than in book collecting.
À tes souhaits.
Merci. I couldn't quite track the provenance of that piece, but Philippe must have brought it back from the New World. He became quite wealthy as a merchant in the Americas and restored Blackmoor's original splendor after it had been abandoned for years. His daughter Penelope continued the renovation, commissioning the construction of this library by Roger Vizier, who built a similar one for the French general Jean Leboeuf. Those are mainly Penelope Penvellyn's collections of French novels. She was a patron to a raft of artists, and her salon was quite popular. She was quite the libertine, even kept her maiden name after her marriage.
Wonder what happened in there. Looks like John Penvellyn may have developed some of the plants that are in here himself. Doesn't work. This must be some... Hello? A carnivorous plant. Cool. Messing with her plants is probably
All settled
not
in?
a good idea.
I'm happy that you're visiting Linda, but I know how much you teenagers like your televisions and loud stereos, so I must insist that you act respectfully and civilly while you stay with us. Since my nephew Hugh is away on business, I am in charge of this household, and if there's one thing I cannot stand, it's noise. Hugh's daughter Jane is staying with us and would very much like to meet you, but please try not to distract her. She has her studies and mustn't be disturbed during her lessons.
Is anyone else staying here?
We do not have any permanent house staff, if that's what you mean. The Penvellyns have always been self-reliant. We get on quite well without being continuously mollycoddled by a squadron of insipid, gossiping ne'er-do-wells. Now, we do have two other house guests. Our Mr. Nigel Mukherjee, who is researching the Penvellyn family history in the library, and Ethel Bossany, Jane's tutor.
Do you know what's wrong with Linda?
Oh, Linda simply needs some time to adjust to her new living situation. England is not the United States. We do things differently, or should I say properly, here. The doctor believes it's just a case of nerves.
Her mother told me she refuses to let anyone see her. Is that true?
I don't know, and the doctors don't know. No one seems to know anything. All I've been told is that Linda is unwell and that in her stead, I must look after matters. Now, please, I really do not have time to entertain you. You may have the run of the house, but do not break anything, and refrain from mucking about with items that aren't yours. Two rules Jane seems incapable of following. And before I forget, our kitchen is being remodeled, so our dining situation is rather unorthodox. I've made arrangements with a local restaurant to deliver meals to us. There should be a programmed number for them on the phone in your room. Feel free to order whatever you'd like.
The picture book in Jane's room. Do you know much about its history?
My brother Alan found it somewhere in the house. He was quite fascinated by it, but he'd never let me look at it.
I'm concerned about that thing I saw outside.
It was purely your imagination, unless you saw a stray dog. But I will not countenance any histrionics about this issue. We have enough to worry about with Linda. And please do not get any ideas about going outside to investigate. I do not want you tracking mud all over this house.
What was your brother Alan like?
He was quite remarkable. He taught linguistics and computer science and won many prestigious awards. He loved games, especially pranks, and was forever tinkering with this and that. I do miss him sometimes, but now he's gone. He died a month after my husband passed away, and ever since I've been here all alone. Until Hugh came back from the United States, that is.
This conservatory is very beautiful. But why isn't there any water in the well?
I'm not quite sure. We never really used it, but it was always full of water. That is until my brother died. And then it just dried up. Most of these plants were brought over by my grandfather. He was quite the adventurer. I remember when he brought back Lulu from the Amazon. At first, Mother wouldn't allow us to play with it because it had picked up too many unsuitable words from sailors. But it gradually learned proper manners.
Can you tell me about Lulu?
Lulu is a very old parrot. She must be over 80 years old. Please be very careful with her, especially if you feed her. Parrots have quite delicate constitutions, you know.
Goodbye.
Good evening.
Do you have allergies, Mrs. Drake?
Oh, yes. Hay fever. Although I'm not at all sure what's worse, my allergies or that medication. It makes me feel as if I'm about to float right out of my shoes. Who's hungry? Who's ready for some nummies?
Did you say something, Mrs. Drake?
Not to you, dear.